As usual, every night we bring to you a live studio interview, of course, discussing issues affecting people across the country and issues that are topping headlines every single day in the country. Today, we are shifting focus to the political scene, and I'm joined in studio by former senator. That is former senator is here. It's been a while. People have not heard of what he has to say, but it's all the way from 2017. He's gracing the studios today. That is Honorable, that is Paul Njoroge Ben. He's here in studio, and together with my resident political analyst also in studio, that is Samuel Tawish. It's going to be a very interesting discussion on matters politics, and of course, welcome very much to the studios.
Thank you so much.
Mheshimiwa, it is good to have you.
Thank you very much.
I mean, all the way from 2000, when you were, nominated into the first, Senate House when it picked up, 2013 through 2017, Kenyans want to hear what you have to say once again. So welcome so much to the studios.
Thank you.
Tawish, it's an honor to have you once again to let us know so far what has developed, what do we expect, and what do Kenyans not understand about the political scene. Now, just to I'll start with Honorable Paul Njoroge Ben. What have you been up to, sir? I mean, since 2017?
Let me say, after the general election of 2017, of course, slightly after, the handshake was born. So that is what I've been working on. Of course, giving support to the two principles as far as the handshake is concerned.
Okay.
And of course, also helping them in fighting this monster called corruption.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned the handshake, and Tawish is going to come and talk about that as well. We have followed you very closely. You were in Jubilee, at one point defected to Kanu, and we want to be sure that you are not in Kanu and probably in a different party in the spirit of handshake. You're probably in ODM now.
Yeah.
What should you think from this?
Of course, I know you have heard this.
Yes.
Through rumors. Whatever rumor is there, it could be very right, because I have already defected and joined ODM. What I'm waiting for is just that formal, to be formally received by the leader of ODM. And I'm happy being there, because right now I'm a life member of ODM. That is in the spirit of the handshake, because I believed we have to walk the talk.
Right.
When we say we really want to bring people together, of course, I found it very necessary to join the Right Honorable former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, in his party, which is ODM, and that is where I am right now, just before officially received by the top brother of the party.
You have mentioned in the spirit of the handshake, and of course, as we're following the spirit of handshake and fighting corruption, we, as Tawish, you also understand there is now the BBI versus the Punguza Mzigo, all these things going on. Let's just talk about the High Court ruling today. Now, I'll cross over to Tawish here, and the High Court judge today, John Mativo, dismissed an application by Devin Gary. Of course, when they fail to appear in court, in terms of stopping the debate on the Punguza Mzigo initiative. Now, what we witnessed today, is it a plus really for the third way alliance?
Well, thank you so much. I think to some extent it's a plus to Kuru Court's Punguza Mizigo initiative. One, because now it's like they've gotten that green light to move around the counties, the 47 counties, to try and, of course, have this bill debated by members of county assemblies. But that is not to say that it's going to be a smooth road altogether, to the end. Because like I said last time, and we all understand, there are so many parameters that this initiative has to satisfy before eventually we get into voting. We have to, after all that, if at all they are going to get the backing of at least 24 counties will have to go to the National Assembly to get that backing from the National Assembly and the Senate before finally maybe going to the ballot. I mean, that is a very long process. So it cannot be that it is like hallelujah or a holiday for Ekura Aukot now. It still has a long way to go. But I will say, as far as it's concerned today, looking into that ruling, of course, it has given him a green light to move around the country and try to sell this bill.
So that puts him in at least a better position, rather than like compared to unlike before.
Yeah, sure.
Your Honorable, I just need to get your opinion on the Punguza Mzigo bill. You've been following as well. There are other amendments that he has proposed in the bill, including, of course, reducing number of, members of parliament, of course, scrapping off people he suggested could be the Mzigo, like women representatives. I mean, such things, do you think they have repercussions on the citizen, really, on the governance? Now that you have been in governance, do you feel this Punguza Mzigo bill is anything to stand with?
One, I would say that noting that there is also the BBI, which has been actually collecting views from Kenyans as far as the amendments to the Constitution are concerned. We really need to understand and accept that there will be a time will come when also this has to be presented to the IEBC for fine-tuning. Don't forget that. It's just like a proposal, if I may put it. These are amendments which even when we were really working on the amendment to the current constitution, there was a tug of war here and there. Yeah. And so I think it is very healthy when Ekura Aukot has that, have those proposals which has come up with, because it will be his versus any other proposal which will come up with any other institution, and more probably the BBI. Of course, there are those points which we might, which might marry from both institutions, his and also the BBI, because I think what we need is what will be best for Kenyans.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when we talk of Punguza Mzigo, the Constitution is a big thing, and Punguza Mzigo is just maybe 2 clause. So what about the rest?
Right.
What is that we are talking of? So I think we have a lot to because you see, it's not even addressing the issue of transparency as far as the elections are concerned.
Okay.
Whereby we have had issues. Again, who is sponsoring this gentleman? Because it is very expensive, don't forget that. Could it be maybe the opponents of BBI? So there's a lot to come.
When you say could it be opponents of BBI, I am picking from you that you'd want to tell us more about BBI, now that in the spirit of Handshake, do you feel that BBI would have more, impact on the Mwananchi versus the Punguza bill? From where you stand as a politician.
You see, the point is that since the BBI was established, they've been moving around the counties. Exactly. Getting views from the common Mwananchi. We haven't seen what they have. Yeah, we are yet to see. But one of the things which we are going to look into is to make sure that during elections we have a free and fair elections. That's one. Two, we're also coming up with how we can be able to tackle the problems facing Kenyans right now to do with corruption in this country. And also what we do in order to eliminate or to wipe out completely these quarrels after the elections, which have been really been a major blow to Kenyans after elections. So this guy is not talking about those things. He's only talking about Punguza Mzigo. I mean, to what extent? All right. Yeah, we are not sure. Maybe he's coming to do away with women's seats. When, for affirmative action, that is something which would really be a big blow to women.
All right,
Maybe
yes.
it's coming to scrap disabled seats at the Senate and at the National Assembly. What is this about Punguza Mzigo? Until now we see up to what level he's really taking us to. Then that is not the only time we would celebrate, but not yet.
Not
For
yet.
now, no.
So far, no celebration. When you're trying to compare between BBI and Punguza Mzigo, let me go back to Tawish. Tawish, in the spirit of Handshake. Now, let's talk about the Handshake so far. You know, after the Handshake, Kenyans have witnessed a lot of, arrests, of course, by the DCI, a lot of things that have been happening in the political scenes that a lot of Kenyans or politicians have been pointing fingers at the Handshake. Now, so far, even as he's speaking about fighting corruption, he's talking about the BBI highlighting matters fighting corruption. What is your take on this? What is your political analysis from what Honorable here has just mentioned?
Well, for a moment, let me just concur with the senator here that, I mean, from where we sit, when you look into those pushing for the BBI and those pushing for the Punguza Mzigo initiative, it does tell you, because again, there are people who have already taken sides as we speak today. There are people who feel like the BBI is the best thing, in as much as we are yet to really get to understand what is contained in that particular document, because they have not yet unveiled it. Yes. For the Punguza Mzigo, there are also those who are propping it up and saying it's the best thing for the country. And already you can see political lines have already been drawn. So it does tell you, and I think it gets into that thinking of Mheshimiwa, that probably it's the opponents of BBI that are supporting or sponsoring the Punguza Mzigo. Because as it is today, those who are opposed to the BBI are the ones who apparently are supporting the Punguza Mzigo. But that said and done, I think moving forward, the Handshake has brought in a lot of good things. Because again, one of the key pillars in the fight against corruption in the country, and also in as far as uniting the country is concerned, we need to get that what we call political goodwill. If you do not have political goodwill, then it becomes a nightmare for you to achieve this. We've seen that goodwill from President Kenyatta, but just ask yourself this question for a moment. Assuming President Kenyatta was not with Raila Odinga today, and you have governors or you have senators or you have public officials who are involved in corruption, and you have a very powerful opposition leader who is opposed to every move that maybe the president is making or the government is making. So it becomes a headache even to the head of state to try and run this, to try and achieve this. So it's a good thing that they came together, because this is a common monster that is not only killing those who support the president, but equally the opposition zones. So it was a good idea for them to come together to see how they can actually face this enemy together. And also the second thing is about, of course, empowerment. What we have been seeing today is not what we have been witnessing in the past. The key institutions that are actually fighting corruption today in the country, the EACC, the DPP, and the Office of the DCI, and others have actually been empowered, and a lot of funding has really gone into these institutions to see into it that they do not have any excuse actually to carry out their mandate. So I think in that respect, it tells you that there's a lot of political goodwill from the president himself, and also coming on board Raila Odinga himself and supporting the president in this. So we're not going to see a lot of resistance in as far as the fight against corruption, unless you're a culprit. Unless you're a culprit.
Yeah. You had that. Now, you mentioned funding. We're going to go to the division revenue bill, which I hope we have been following. The two houses having the wrangles, and people are asking, who is hurting more in this division revenue bill wrangle? Now, before that, allow me to, of course, just as we wrap up this particular part on the Punguza Mzigo bill versus the BBI, I could just mention one thing I picked out from the BBI, where they asked, the big question is between development and services at your doorstep on the one hand, and more representatives on the other hand. All right, which one would Kenyans have, or rather have? You know, services at your doorstep on more representatives. I mean, this is something that BBI is challenging, but we're throwing that back to you at home. Now, let's take a look at something that Kenyans are either agitated about or politicians are asked about, is the division revenue bill. Today, we have the houses, the Senate, where you start, which I believe is the upper house. I don't know if that's still the case in our country, but there has been, from the time of the unveiling of our new budget, where of course allocations were done, 310 billion shillings, right? However, there was a sitting where the Senate was able to at least stop at 316.
316.
316 before they finally jumped back to 335, which is now the point of contention. We are asking today, are you in line with what the Senate is doing? Do you think they have a role in this? Do you think they have powers in this? What is your place? What is your opinion on the division revenue bill so far, even as we await the Attorney General's legal, of course, opinion at this particular point? Honorable.
Yeah, let me say this way. We have a toothless Senate. And until we amend the Constitution to give it more power, like as the culture is in other countries, because anything to do with money bill is supposed to be generated from the National Assembly. Then again, you see when this problem generated because of the figures. The Senate was just playing politics, and someone was behind that because they knew very well there was no money. You ask for money which is not in the pocket. So it was like they were asking the government to go back again and start getting money from elsewhere, when actually the citizens are also crying for because of the high debt we have in this country. But you see, Senate did not care. It's because you see, if you see the leadership of the Senate, from the Speaker to the leader of majority, these are people who are lined up to Tanga movement, which is really trying to see the president not doing things the right way. Just let me finish that one. Because, Senate is a political house. That's what we really need to understand.
All right.
And to them, they thought the president would give in on that one until he told them he doesn't make money. The money is made from by another institution, but not State House or his institution. Because, we know in the country how the economy is right now. That is after a good number of people have stolen money, Kenyans' money. And that is why, you remember, we came up with that idea of doing away with the old notes of 1,000.
Oh, yes.
Up to 31st of September, whereby you can see some people going around churches giving out that money so that the money can be out of their hands, so that they beat the deadline of 31st of September. But all said and done, the bottom line is the Senate ought to have understood that they needed to share what is in there, what is there. But now they were talking of money which is not there. So the president could not understand that. That is a game which was played just to bring down the idea of the president, because of course he was to defend his case. But I think, and again, look at it this way. When the governors are claiming not to have enough money, where are they getting the money which they are stealing from the counties? Yeah? You see what is happening. One of them cannot even walk into his office because of that. And we are talking of a lot of money.
Yes, yes.
Then you still go again and add that governor or that county some more money when they have not recovered the money which has been stolen. I think the idea here is actually for the stolen money to be given back, so that now from there we can be able to share that money to the counties.
However, would we say that other counties should suffer at the mercy of other counties that have perhaps stolen this money? Because there are some counties that have fallen victim, but there are some counties that are probably doing their work in sincerity.
Let me tell you something.
Could we generalize them?
Let me tell you something. Because I've been at the Senate, yeah, there's no county without a question mark.
Okay.
As far as the finances are concerned. And what I would say is that the money which was allocated to them, they have not been able to show 100% how they spent the money. Yeah? You know, you give too much money they get excuses of having leisure and all that, of buying buildings of their own, taking their spouses to happy hours. So I've seen this happen.
Right.
But the thing is, we do not have that money which they are really asking for, because the country right now economically it's doing very bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Tariq, I'm just going to go back to Awish, pardon me. I'm going to go back to you. And of course, that was the angle of Honorable, Mheshimiwa here. Now, I want to bring it back to the political analyst. What he said about the Senate being a political game, and of course, the county assembly not being able, or the county members not being able to account for the money. However, in all these wrangles going on, who is hurting more? Could it be the citizen? Could it be our governance that is losing its trust of its from the people? Is there something going down, is devolution on its knees? Where are we headed as a country?
Well, I do not want to dampen the hopes of the ordinary people back at home, that maybe the ones who are suffering so much because of what is happening. Because in any case, like Mheshimiwa rightly put it, that we've had this money actually go to the counties, but the governors have not been putting it into right use, which is very, very unfortunate. So to the ordinary person, to some extent, it does seem like it's a normal thing. It's like nothing really is happening as far as what is concerned. But that said and done, there's something that is very important. We as a country are at a very critical point. We are at a time when you're discussing about changing the constitution, trying to amend some clauses to be in conformity with what we really want as a people. What is very important is not really about this document. It's about the commitment and the will to really implement these constitutions.
All right.
So I think we do not want to see a situation where implementation of this constitution is going to be left to the goodwill of those who are in office, be it senators or members of parliament or even the president himself, so that when he feels it like it is not necessary to give out the money, then he refuses to give out the money. This is what the constitution actually envisages. What we have to do as a country is that we need to come together and call maybe the governors, call these people together, sit down with the president,
all right,
and say, look at this with a reality check. We do not have the money at the moment. But you cannot just dismiss it, because even governors from where they sit, as much as they steal this money, they have been stealing this money, but the law expects that they are supposed to get a certain share from the national government. And that is, we cannot have a debate about that. So it cannot be an excuse because these people are involved in stealing the money. Then we can decide and say, today we are giving you this much because you've been stealing all along, maybe say from 2013 up to this time. We can sit down and say, like you posed a question to Mheshimiwa, we cannot vilify some of the governors or county governments that have been doing their job rightly, because there are people and county governments who have been executing their jobs without any problem. But there are those who have really been so notorious. Mheshimiwa has given a case in point here. So we cannot vilify or give a blanket condemnation to all county governments or all county governors and say, because some of them have been stealing, so they all have to actually share the blame. It's going to be a very big problem, because we do not want to see the turmoil that we are in at the moment.
all right.
We understand the National Assembly and the Senate have gone to recess as we speak.
Yeah, just as we wrap up here.
Yeah, they've gone into recess, and we cannot have, we are actually in a complete quagmire. We can't sit down and discuss and find a way forward. Some of the county workers are already on strike, I believe, or they'll be going on strike tomorrow.
Some
I
have
reckon almost half of the 47 counties,
Yes.
which is a very big crisis as a country. We need to see how we can sit down as soon as possible and find a solution to this. Because in any case, if we have the interest of the people at heart, we are going to have people die in hospitals because there are no doctors, there are no nurses, simply because they have not gotten their pays. And some of the most critical services are also going to be crippled. Those are the things we do not want to see as a country.
All right, that is Tawish here, making it very clear as a political analyst, both sides, and you're following closely. Mheshimiwa, it's been great having you in studio, but there is no way I would let you out of studio without, of course, giving us a clue on what 2022 looks like for you. If it is too early, you would let us know, but some people who are following you and who trust in you, because here you've been fighting for people with disability, you are fighting against corruption, now you're in the spirit of Handshake. Some of us are curious to know what next for Mheshimiwa here. Is 2022, are we having you somewhere?
Of course, I'll be somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, expect that from me. One, I would say that I'm still watching things as far as the realignment is concerned.
All right.
And again, also remember there's that call from the president whereby he asked us to support him, the 4 agenda, before we could bring politics into the picture. Of course, there's that team which have said no, they have to continue looking for votes. That is from Dr. Ruto's side. But then again, remember, having come from the Senate as a senator,
Yes.
I think the next move probably would become the deputy prime minister or the deputy president. That is what I'll be eyeing for.
All right.
But remember, that is through nomination. One has to be nominated by the presidential candidate or the prime minister, whatever you call it.
Okay.
But again, because there are only 3 slots.
Okay.
I'm imagining there are only 3 slots. If there's no chance, then there's still that chance of becoming the governor into one of the counties, where by my home county, which is in Nakuru.
You had declared that once, and you were following very closely. We are still following that very closely. Now, Tawish.
I think basically what Mheshimiwa is telling us is aiming at the moon.
At the moon.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't get it to fall amongst the stars.
But he's not losing the moon chasing the stars.
But also don't forget, we have to keep on proving that even people with disability can. Yeah.
All right.
That's why if I would get a chance of becoming one of the deputies in one of that slot of the deputy president or the deputy prime minister, that would be a good thing for us to prove to Kenyans that we really can. There are those days when people thought people with disability would not really articulate issues
themselves, all right.
affecting Kenyans generally. Not only problems facing people with disability, but generally. Because I think there's those problems which are more than dealing with problems facing with people with disability.
Yes.
But again, for that term which I was in the Senate,
yes.
I think I might have proved something to Kenyans.
Mheshimiwa, we followed, and we are still following through all the way to 2022.
Yeah.
Tawisha will also help us see the predictions, and of course, very soon when the time comes for the campaign, we also hope to have you again. But so far, thank you very much for following this interview. It's been the political scene right here in the country. And of course, give us your feedback at KUTV Kenya. But for tonight, gentlemen, thank you very much for gracing our studio. We'll be right back with the latest in the world of sports. Stay tuned.